Alright, Budget Magic, Blue Red Mill Standard. We can keep this. I don't know what we're up against. Something would cause these. Well, what do you take from this hand? Probably Treasure Cruise. Maybe Anchor, depending on what we're up against. Basic Swamp. Alright, so now my thinking is we're probably up against like Mono Black Warriors or something. But we'll play Evolving Wilds. The other option would be our opponent has multiple discard spells. No, this is looking like Mono Black something. Mono Black, Despoiler of Souls. We're still getting a mountain here, even though our Anger was discarded. So this might be Mono Black Devotion, I guess? Another Treasure Cruise. Well, we'll play an island. If we can go Elhammeret's Archive into Treasure Cruise, look out. Our opponent inexplicably did not attack. Worried about the Snapcaster Mage, I guess. Herald of Torment. I think we play Island here. And this is kind of interesting. We can Fiery Impulse the Despoiler, but not the Herald. We can also Send to Sleep, but not have Spell Mastery. And then we can go after the Herald instead of the Despoiler. Gonna kill something. I think we're just gonna kill the Despoiler. Takes so much effort to get that back. I think it's not quite as good as killing it forever, but it's a lot of work. Exile 2 other cards and pay 2 mana. Definitely not a Bloodghast or a Gravecrawler. That's an island. So I guess we just play island here, ship the turn. And we are on course for our dream of Elhammeret's Archive into Treasure Cruise. We might just Send to Sleep, even though there's only one creature. If our opponent plays another creature, well, now we are certainly going to Send to Sleep. Gets rid of these for 2 turns. I'm assuming our opponent's setting up for a Gray Merchant. Well, yeah. We'll Radiant Fountain up to 19. Oh, Elhammeret's Archive. Card I never would have been expected to see play at the Pro Tour, or to have me be playing it in Standard. Well, it's going to do some crazy things. It's like Tormenting Voice all of a sudden becomes discard a card and you draw 4. Treasure Cruise is just draw 6. Well, there's a Roast. But we have no creatures. I guess we just Treasure Cruise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. This is better, obviously, if we have a Sphinx's Tutelage out, which we don't. So now I think we're just going to gain 4 off our Radiant Fountain, thanks to Elhammeret's Archive. Well, I guess we just Tormenting Voice. Pitching the Roast. Dictative Crufix in lands. And a bunch of Magmatic Insights. So we want to save lands for our Magmatic Insights. If we draw a Sphinx's Tutelage, we'll go absolutely bonkers. So I think we can pitch Dictate, pitch a Fiery Impulse, and pitch a Mountain. So we're actually set up for another Treasure Cruise. But we're going to take a ton of damage here. Do we just lose if he has Gray Merchant? 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. I think we take 23 if he has land Gray Merchant. Which is unfortunate because we're really close to doing something crazy. Okay. Still no Tutelage. Oh, what's the plan? What's the plan? Guess we can Magmatic Insight, discarding a mountain. We really want that Tutelage. We went a long way. We're going to be halfway through our deck without finding one here in a second. Another Magmatic Insight. Well, now we are just going to Whelming Wave to bounce all our opponent's creatures. And Swift Water Cliffs to gain us 2 life. And now we will discard, I guess, an island. Man, I think if we draw a Sphinx's Tutelage, I think we win the game on the spot. I think we will mill our 46 cards in 1 turn if we draw a Tutelage. Erebos' Titan for our opponent. Come on, Tutelage for the win. There it is! Yes! Alright, check this out, guys and girls. This is going to be super sweet. So we play Tutelage. We will start by treasure cruising. And this will mill a bunch of cards. We get 6 triggers from our Tutelage. So remember, our opponent started this turn at 46 cards in library. And I'm pretty confident we are going to mill 46 here all on 1 turn. Oh, our opponent has Blood-Soaked Champions too. So our opponent is down to 32 cards in library. Now we can play Magmatic Insight, pitching a Mountain, which will draw us 4 more cards, get 4 more Sphinx triggers. Oh, this deck is so sweet. Andrew Cuneo, you're such a mad genius. This is obviously a more budget version. We don't have the Jaces. That's the one main difference. Our mana base is a little different, and we don't have the Jaces. Otherwise, this is Andrew Cuneo build. Our opponent has Nykthos, Despoilers, Heroes Downfalls, Bioblades. Actually, a lot of things aren't very good against us. Read the Bones. Alright. So that puts our opponent down to 16. Now we can Magmatic Insight, pitching an island. Gets 4 more triggers. Oh man, this is so much fun. Loving it, loving it, loving it. So we would have milled 60 cards this turn easily. Our opponent is to 0, and we still have Treasure Cruise. We still could Treasure Cruise and have a ton of cards in our hand. So we'll just play Radiant Fountain and pass the turn. Our opponent should just scoop now, but we'll just discard a bunch of lands. And maybe a Treasure Cruise, just to show our opponent. We weren't just lucky. Yeah, so we still had a Treasure Cruise left over to mill another 1,000,000 cards. Well, that's what happens when you have Alhamret's Archive and Sphinx's Tutelage on the battlefield. Super, super sweet. 46 cards in 1 turn. It does not get any better than that. So against this deck, which he actually has a lot of threats we don't deal well with, Anger seemed good because it takes care of Blood-Soaked Champion, Despoiler of Souls, and Herald of Torment. Send to Sleep seems necessary. Dictative Krufix, probably fine. The problem with Roasts is his Titans are indestructible, and his other creatures have flying, a lot of them. So we might get rid of the Roasts here. Could bring in Tormod's Crypt, because if we mill a whole bunch of Blood-Soaked Champions and Despoiler of Souls, that's actually kind of good for our opponent. Not sure about Seismic Rupture. Talent of Telepath's another option. Gates, our opponent has Thought Seizes and such. So we'll bring in Tormod's Crypt. I think maybe we'll just go Tormod's Crypt Disperse. That's another good way to deal with the Titan that we can't really deal with. Oh, I'm happy either way. That first turn was so sweet. And we have If our opponent does not have a Thoughtseize or Address, we have the Nut Draw. Well, now we need to draw another Tutelage. Yes, of course, our opponent gets rid of our Tutelage. And lo and behold, that is another copy of Sphinx's Tutelage. Hopefully our opponent is just not worried about our hand now. The Spoiler of Souls, yup. So I think we'll crack this for a mountain. I think we have double red mostly for our Anger of God, so I think it's worth having a second red mana. Ooh, Magmatic Insight too. Well, now we'll play the island and just pass the turn. Hopefully Fiery Impulse to the Spoiler of Souls, untap, Sphinx's Tutelage, and then I don't think we can lose. One more turn without Duress or Thoughtseize, and I think we win the game. Sign in Blood, that is perfectly reasonable. That is what we want to see. So we'll Fiery Impulse to the Spoiler. Get rid of that for now. Untap, Tutelage, and then we can start going to town. Yeah, we'll just play Mountain here. That lets us Tormenting Voice and Magmatic Insight in the same turn. And we're at 20, so the 2 life isn't that important. Our opponent shouldn't have a way to deal with it. They keep playing Temple of Deceit, but I'm guessing that's just the random Shockland off color, or Scryland. Not Shockland. Mogus is Marauders, so they're going to haste their way in for 4 damage. Which is fine. We're going to do... I don't think we can quite mill 46 cards in a turn like last time, because we don't have Alhemrat's Archive. Big Ale's Archive. But we can still do quite a bit. So they're starting at 48. We get 4 there. Well, I guess we lead with Magmatic Insight, pitching of Valving Wilds. Get a couple more triggers. Then we'll Tormenting Voice, pitching Radiant Fountain. Get a couple more triggers. And I guess that's it for now. Since we don't have another untapped blue source, we just gotta play Swiftwater Cliffs and pass. We still, they started at 48, ended up at 32, so we milled 16 with 2 spells. Not bad. Next turn we can Cruise and Tormenting Voice. There's a Liliana. I like this deck. I've been talking about Mono Black Devotion for a while now, so I'm glad to see someone playing it, but I do not think it has a good matchup against us. Oh, yeah. So I think it's about over. Because we can start off by cruising for 1 mana. Draw 3 cards. Mill a bunch. We drew all lands. So our opponent's at 29 cards. 25. 23. 21. And then we can Tormenting Voice, pitching a island. Down to 19, 13. Now we can Magmatic Insight, pitching I guess island. We might want the untapped mountain for a Fiery Impulse. 13. How far down are we? 9. Can we get it? 7. I guess we gotta wait 1 more turn before winning. So we'll just gain the life, pass the turn. I would be surprised. Our opponent can hit us for 6, and then play a Gray Merchant, which is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So our opponent can, I would assume the best they could do would be 12 damage. They don't have enough to Gray Merchant plus Sign in Blood. Yep. There it is, our shiny Magic Origins booster for milling out our Mono Black Devotion opponent. Man, this deck is fun. This deck is so fun, and it's cheap. Even if you, yes, if you can afford the Jaces, play it with the Jaces like Cunio did. But even without the Jaces, Jace is very good, but it gives your opponent a target for removal. Oh, this deck, it's just good. I don't even think the Jaces are that necessary, although they make the deck better. So, alright, I'll be back with another before long.